Hey, what's happening, y'all? What is happening? We are live. 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 So, it's a lot to talk about, First things first, it is Sunday, this afternoon here in the United States, or in the evening, I should say, early in the evening, that is. And I know in the UK, it's like almost, I think it's about 2 a.m. or I think it's not 2 a.m. I think it's almost past midnight over there. I could be wrong, close to midnight, that is. As of right now, we have the undercard that's going on right now between Luis Ortiz. Well, not between Luis Ortiz, the undercard for the Andy Ruiz and Luis Ortiz, a heavyweight bout that is scheduled to go down tonight. I think the main event of that fight, which that is, the main event starts at 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, of course, in the UK, it's about 4 or 5 a.m. So, we got lots to talk about in the process. Meanwhile, we are watching Lean versus Polania, and Liam is schooling Polania. I mean, look at the punch count, 104 to 38, and we're in 8 rounds already. And Polania suffered a knockdown too, which was in the second round, I believe, which is a bit controversial. Some would argue that was not a knockdown because it was against the ropes and he was taking a bit. He staggered there, so the referee ruled it a knockdown, I should say. So, I mean, even if that was the case, he's getting battered, he's getting schooled. I mean, this fight is just a mismatch. So, um, yeah, so we definitely got lots to talk about. While I'm watching the preliminary, I should say. Uh, we need to talk about Alexander Usyk. The four now you can say they're like somewhat the four kings of the heavyweight division. Now you have Alexander Usyk, uh, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and Deontay Wilder. So a lot's been said between these heavyweights in the past week or so. A lot of things to cover, and I have to go through a lot of this stuff while we're watching the post. I'm watching the live fight reaction here. So right now, this Aleem and Palladium fight should wrap up. There's one more round to go on this, and then after that, what's the next fight on the card? I think Abin Mars, because he is making a return. So, which is very interesting, to say the least. Uh, Bear with me, guys. I'm having a little bit of technical challenges here getting this up and running with the banners. Let me see if I can get this corrected, whatnot. Just give me about less than a minute here while this is going on. But by the way, there might be some feedback on the voice because it's a lot of devices on the Wi-Fi. I'm going to shut one of them down so that way we don't have too much interference. So that should do the trick. All right. Okay. All right. So, all right, so at least I've got a couple comments coming in. Shout out to Mr. Boxer today. What's happening, man? Great, great, great. I guess it's an interesting day for the heavyweights because this is a Sunday pay-per-view, which is I'm not saying that has never happened, but it's kind of a bit of a head scratcher because a fight like Luis Ortiz and Andy Ruiz, yes, I know for one, people are kind of somewhat criticizing this being the pay-per-view bout. I get it. But at the same time, it is kind of a head scratcher why this is on a Sunday rather than a Saturday. So yeah. Yeah, I'm on my way home to watch the card. Did you watch the Charles Martin Devin Vargas fight yet? No, I did get to watch that because actually that was part of the preliminaries. It wasn't on the live card for I was what I've heard. So I thought Charles Martin won that fight. In fact, let me take a look and see what the result is on that. I think he won, but unfortunately it didn't make the main card, which is kind of weird because Charles Martin is I think he's a enough credit. He is a credible fighter to at least be on the undercard at least. I mean, I don't think this fight should have been considered a non-preliminary. I don't know why, but it is what it is. But he did stop Devin Vargas in the fourth round. So that's all I can tell you. I didn't see the fight. So yeah, I have to go back and look at the highlights and take a look at it. But I mean, it is what it is. Charles Martin did what he had to do. But unfortunately, this fight was not on the preliminaries as we see right now with Aleem and Polania. So yeah. How long will the ring walk? How long will it take for the ring walk? Well, shout out to Amir. The ring walk should start at 8 p.m. Pacific time in the United States and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I guess in the UK it's like about 4 a.m. up to 4:30 a.m. I will predict. That's when we'll have the ring rock with Andy Ruiz and Luis Ortiz. So yeah. Yeah, so let me just look at the rest of the card real quickly because I know Adam Mars is coming back. Aleem and Plana. Usyk Cruz is also fighting on this card as well. But these are, I guess I'm not saying tune-up fights for these guys, but these are more like showcase bouts. They're not, the bouts, the undercard bouts are not as quite as interesting as the main event. So let's be real. Let's be real. So the main event, I guess that's where everybody really wants to see rather than the undercards, which I get. So that's probably why this is more of a these undercards are more like showcase bouts. So let's see here. Let's take a look and what's on that. What's on the undercard. So we have Polania and Aleem right now. Aleem is just battering him. So I think the fight is over right now because this is only a 10-rounder. So let's see. In fact, you know what? The Charles Martin fight is actually on. Yeah, I didn't catch it, but you could check it on the PBC on Fox YouTube channel. You should be able to see it there. Let's see here. I'm trying to get a look at the undercard. Give me a second, guys. I'm try to sort this out. I think it's on the boxing scene. They should have the undercard information. Let's see. Yep, better yet, let me go on BoxRec. They should have, obviously they'll have it there. Damn, you live? Damn, you live the whole card? Yeah, I'm gonna try to be. I'm gonna actually be live as long as I can. I mean, it's gonna go 4 hours, 4.5, so I'll be live for that. But meanwhile, I want to get through some on list of topics while we go through the card. So I'm not just gonna sit here and just give my analysis on the entire card right now. So as you can see, Abner Mars is fighting Miguel Flores. That's actually an interesting bout. That's an interesting bout. So let me go back here. So Jose Venezuela, actually, he's an up and coming prospect. He's fighting Edwin de los Santos. That should be an interesting fight as well, even though I think that's a showcase one. Right now, we're watching Rashid Aleem versus Mike Polania. That's the main card, obviously, what we're watching right now. Then we had the non-preliminaries, which we already saw, which already had been completed already. After this fight is Jose Venezuela versus Edwin de los Santos, and then Usyk Cruz will be fighting Eduardo Ramirez. Obviously, I expect Cruz to blow through Ramirez. And then after that, we'll have Andy Ruiz, the main event, and Andy Ruiz versus Luis Ortiz. So, yeah. So basically, it's going to be technically for the main card. We only have 4 fights, including the main event. So, which is pretty much the norm. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Boxer Day. It is kind of crazy though because Charles Martin just headlined the pay-per-view with Ortiz earlier this year, in January, and now here we are 8 months later. He's on a non-preliminary card, which is kind of bizarre to me because he actually was winning that fight before he got stopped. He knocked down Ortiz twice before the stoppage. I mean, it was a good fight. He gave a good effort. He was up on the cards, and he just got caught with a good shot, and that ended the fight. I don't know if that was the reason that warranted him to be demoted onto the non-preliminaries. I don't know. Maybe because Fox didn't want to showcase it. I really don't know because of the caliber of the opponent that he was fighting, Devin Vargas. I'm kind of confused. I'm scratching my head trying to figure that out myself. So yeah, that's weird, but it is what it is. He got the win. It's a 4th round KO or TKO, I think. So yeah. Aleem is blasted with two left hooks. He's going for it. Whoa. Oh boy. Oh, come on, man. Come on, guys. Stop the fight. I know it's 10 seconds left. Oh, stop the fight, ref. Come on. I know it's 10 seconds left, but come on. Yeah, he's closing it. Aleem's closing the show, all right. well, Polania's gonna make it. He's gonna make it. Ah, boy, that was bad for Mike Polania. That was horrible. I know I know he lost. I mean, on my card, he lost every single round, but that 10th round was bad. Ooh, he took some big blows at the end of that round. Wow. I mean, I know Aleem wanted to make a statement. I mean, even though he didn't get the knockout, but that was a bit of a statement right there. What he just did, an explanation point, I should say. I mean, wow, those two left hooks. Start with the right and a big left hook. Boom. Oh man, that was bad. Ooh, I'm surprised Polanyi didn't even get knocked out with that, but okay. It is what it is. Yeah, so we gotta keep an eye on Rashid Aleem, super bantamweight prospect. So we definitely gotta look at him. But anyway, let me go into the list of topics while we wait for Jose Valenzuela, his fight coming up against Edward De Los Santos. But let me see. Yeah, let's go through a list of topics real quickly. All right, so let's talk about this. Tyson Fury slams Alexander Usyk. Okay. Where do I begin? This all stems from the the comments that Usyk made when he gave an interview, a live interview session in Kiev, Ukraine. And he was asked about his aspirations to fight Tyson Fury and unifying, completely become the undisputed heavyweight champion. And he said that I will fight Tyson Fury, but I'm not keen on fighting him at the by the end of this year because one, I'm still nursing nagging injuries going into the Joshua rematch, and two, I need a couple more. I need at least a couple months to spend time with my family. After I've concluded that, then I'll definitely fight him early next year. Which, by the way, which is reasonable to me because look, Alexander Usyk has had history of injuries and whatnot, and he's not asking for an entire year to recover. He's asking at least for a couple more months going into the new year. So I think that's perfectly reasonable. But lo and behold, we have Tyson Fury open up his big mouth, wants to jump on that and say, he's trying to control the narrative and and create some type of public a negative public reaction towards Usyk is saying Usyk is a coward, you're a bitch. You say you call me out on live television. Now all of a sudden you don't want to fight me at the end of the year. Blah blah blah. You ain't got no injuries. You have a fake injury. You had a sparring session with the bodybuilder. So get on your horn. Blah blah blah. This that and the third. You fight me, right? Then he went on to proceed and attack Alexander Usyk's amateur record. I mean, not attack his entire record, but he went on to attack him as far as his losses in the amateurs, right? So he Sean Porter acting like a fool. But anyway, so Tyson Fury acknowledges. Speaking of Sean Porter, I just mentioned him. Tyson Fury tagged Alexander Usyk with a picture of himself, Tyson Fury, that is, and Sean Porter in some type of training camp. He tagged Sean Porter and Alexander Usyk and told everybody on his Twitter page, this is who Usyk lost to in the amateurs. A guy who's 6'3", Usyk 6'3", and he lost to a guy who's 5'7", right? Sean Porter responded to that and said, hey, man, don't put me in this. I don't know. I mean, I guess he was being funny, but it's funny that Tyson Fury wants to attack a guy about his amateur losses against Sean Porter and Matt Korobov, right? Yeah, I guess he's attacking, the Matt Korobov loss because Korobov got knocked out by his cousin Andy Lee. All right, it is what it is. But, let me go ahead and bring up Tyson Fury's amateur record, all right? Let me do that because I know a lot of Tyson Fury fans are not going to like what I have to say, and I'm going to go through his record, and I'm going to go in detail and then use a lot of objectivity. First things first, Tyson Fury didn't have a long amateur record. He had 25 fights and lost 5. To me, that's a terrible record. And 4 of those 5 losses came from guys who are from Eastern European descent. One of them is Ukrainian, and let's get into that. The loss that the Ukrainian that he lost to was the name of Ivan Dechko, a guy who's coming in as his debut in the amateurs. And Tyson Fury had 15 fights in, and this guy debuted, and he lost to this guy. Ivan Dechko didn't have a great amateur record. He went pro eventually, and he finished as a pro 6 wins and 7 losses. This is who Tyson Fury lost to, Ivan Dechko. Look it up. He lost to this guy when this guy was entering in the amateur ranks as in a debut, right? He debuted against Tyson Fury and beat him. Right? Yeah, Tyson Fury avenged that loss. I get it, blah, blah, blah. But it's still embarrassing either way you look at it, because this guy not only didn't turn out to be a great amateur, but he also turned out to be a terrible pro. He only won 6 fights out of the 13 he was involved in. He had more losses than he had wins. That's who Tyson Fury lost to. A Ukrainian, by the way. Since he want to talk about a Ukrainian dosser. And by the way, Usyk responded to that and said, well, I don't know why he's calling me a dosser. I mean, why is he attacking me for being homeless? I mean, I have a permanent residence if he wants to look that up. Wow. But anyhow, and by the way, I also have to add to the fact that Tyson Fury lost to a guy by the name of Cathedral Monigo, right? An Irish amateur who entered the fight 8 wins and 10 losses and finished his amateur career with 20 wins and 19 losses, but never turned pro. Yeah, Tyson Fury lost to a guy with a losing record in the amateurs going into their fight. All right? Yeah, most famously, he got pieced up by David Price in the amateurs. Yeah, when it came time to fight him, we already know the story already. When it came time to fight David Price for the British heavyweight title, what did he do? When Tyson Fury was the champion, when he was mandated to fight him, what did he do? He vacated that belt like a freaking coward. Vacate the belt, and then he wanted to run around and tell everybody, a story that how David Price ducked the fight. Nah, bro. Price was your mandatory challenger, and you didn't want to fight him because you still were haunted by the events that occurred between you and Price in the amateurs, the way he pieced you up. So you didn't want to be reminded by that, so you vacated the belt. That's what you did. All right. No, not Ivan Deshko, not him. His name is Ivan Dezersky. I think I said Deshko. It's Ivan Dezersky. That's his name. Not Dechko. Dezersky. Ivan Dezersky was a guy. If I said Dechko, then that's a mispronunciation. My bad. It's Ivan Dezersky. He's the one who Tyson Fury lost to when he was debuting as an amateur, who eventually had a losing record as a pro. That's who Tyson Fury lost to. That's who he lost to. All right. Again, he lost to a guy, aside from the David Price loss, he also lost to a guy who was 8-10, an Irish amateur who was 8-10 going into the fight, finished his record as 20-19 as an amateur, never turned pro. That's the Tyson Fury lost to. So what I'm getting at, guys, is that if he wants to go after OLEKSANDR Usyk for his losses in the amateurs against the likes of Sean Porter and Matt Korobov, then somebody needs to call him out for the fact that you lost to a guy who was debuting as an amateur, a Ukrainian, who didn't have a great amateur record, and yet, he didn't have a great record as a pro. He's had more losses than wins. Somebody need to call him out for that. And by the way, you lost to an Irish amateur who was 8-10 when he beat you. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not talking. Yeah, again, I missed about it today. I'm not talking about Ivan Dechko. Yeah, if I pronounced it was Dechko, not him. It's Ivan Dezersky, not Ivan Dechko. Yeah, I know Ivan Dechko. Yeah, he's very good. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Ivan Dezersky. That's the guy's name. That's who Tyson Fury lost to in the amateurs. Now, again, if he wants to talk about Alexander Usyk's losses to Sean Porter and Matt Korobov, then somebody needs to call him out about his terrible losses against guys who are not even that good, who never turned pro, and one of them did turn pro, and he had a pro record of 6 wins and 7 losses. That's who Tyson Fury lost to in the amateurs. Look it up. All right, and I wish somebody calls him out on that. I think if they do have a press conference with OLEKSANDR Usyk, Tyson Fury, when they announce their fight and they have their first presser, I think Usyk's team will bring that up and say, well, you know what? It's better to lose to a guy who turned out to be an elite fighter and a multiple world champion, and a guy who's actually had a very good, pretty decent pro career in Matt Korobov. Not saying it was great, but pretty decent. It's better to lose to those guys than losing to a guy who had more losses than wins as a pro, and you lost to him when he made his debut as an amateur, and you lost to another guy who finished his amateur career at 20-19, and he beat you when he was 8-10. This guy beat you when he had a losing record. So yeah, look up Cathedral Monigo, look him up, and also look at Ivan Dezersky. Those are the 2 guys that Tyson Fury lost to in the amateurs. So for him, the nerve to go after Usyk for his losses against Porter and Korobov, man. I mean, look, it's not affecting Usyk. He doesn't care. He responded by, to Tyson Fury again. Also say, he acts like a crow. He called him a crow. He called Tyson Fury a crow, and he said, "I'm a wolf and you're a crow." You know what that means to me? That means to me that I'm a silent killer. You don't know when I'm going to strike. So you better be very careful, you crow, because that's all you do. You yap, you make a lot of noises, but you have no substance. That's what I believe Usyk was telling Fury. Now, when it comes to this mental warfare between the two, Tyson Fury is not going to beat Alexander Usyk in that department. That's not going to happen. He's not going to have a mental edge over him. That's what he's trying to do right now. He's trying to get some type of mental edge over him, but it's not happening. It's not working. He will never beat him in that mental mindset. He won't. In fact, this reminds me of Prince Asim Ahmed, how he tried to win this mental game over Marco Antonio Barrera. We saw how leading up to that fight, how Hasim was trying to be so, disrespectful, berating Barrera months leading to the fight, even went to as far as delaying the walkout, the walkout time to get into Barrera's head, just like he did Kevin Kelly. And we saw what happened to Antonio Marco Barrera. We saw what happened to Prince Naseem. He got battered all over the ring, and he never was the same fighter after that. He only had one fight after that Barrera lost and retired because he didn't have it anymore mentally after that loss. So that could be the same with Ricardo Mayorga with Felix Trinidad. We saw what happened to that leading up to that fight. Mayorga is a known, one of the greatest trash talkers of all time. His best wins, he gets his wins by getting the mental edge over his opponents. And he couldn't get in Trinidad's head. And look what happened when he tried to disrespect and berate Trinidad. You could say the same thing about De La Hoya. Look what happened when he tried that with both of them. He got battered and he got knocked out in both of those fights. All right, so all that trash talking and all trying to get a mental edge over a guy who's known to have a stronger mental edge, Alexander Usyk, he doesn't have to say much. And he could scare you, intimidate you by looking at you with his sinister look, then that right there will bother Tyson Fury. I know he's trying so hard. I know some people are saying that, well, he's trying to promote the fight, but at the same time, he's trying to gain a mental edge over Usyk, and it's not going to work. This is the fighter you don't want to mess with when it comes to mental edge. And by the way, I can also point it to the fact of what Usyk did to Marco Huck. Now, I know Marco is not on the level of a fighter as Tyson Fury. I know that. What I'm saying is that Marco Huck did everything he could to try to play this mental edge over Alexander Usyk by pushing him, but trying to get physical with him in the stare-offs, this, that, and the third. And what did Usyk do to him? He battered him all over the place for 10 rounds, I believe. And I only gave Marco Huck maybe one round in that fight. Maybe one. But other than that, it's not going to work against Usyk. Not at all. It's not going to work. All right, so Fury can try this all he wants to, but I think he's met his match against guys when it comes to the mental warfare. I think he's met his match, and I believe, and this is the way I see it, I wouldn't be surprised if Alexander Usyk shows another gear against Tyson Fury that we never seen before. And Tyson Fury himself may be shocked and he'll be surprised, and he'll probably be confused on what to do here. So if they do fight. Now, the reason why I say if they do fight, because there is no guarantee this fight will happen. I hope it does happen, but there's no guarantee that it will. And the reason why I say that is because, hi, what's up? Shout out to Ahmed and shout out to Mala in the chat. He says that Fury's like Floyd normally. He only fights when he's confident of beating. Yeah, that's what he does. He only takes fights when he knows he's confident of winning. That's all he does. So, not saying he's, I think he is trying to gain some confidence of beating Usyk, but I think he's still unsure himself that he could, somehow win that fight because he knows that he's never been in a ring with a guy like Usyk, a guy who's vastly skilled, vastly experienced, who shows you different levels of, how he could fight you. I mean, there's times in the Joshua fight that he stood toe-to-toe with Joshua, beat him at his own game, inside fighting. Yeah, believe it or not, Usyk did do that. So, Tyson Fury may have bit off more than he could chew if they do fight. So, so like I said though, it is very, very worrisome whether they're going to fight or not because there's a possibility that may not happen. So, Hamed says that, Mr. Boxer today says, can you imagine the presser though? Because Fury dressing like Black Man again, Usyk dressing up like the Joker. I gotta say this though. Shout out to Champ Side Boxing, man. I know some people may not like Champ Side, but He called this before the third Fury and Wilder fight. He said, and he's a Wilder fan. Take a look at one of his live streams he did last year. He said that, look, I like Wilder, but it seems to me that we're gonna get Usyk versus Fury. And the reason why he said that is because look at that presser that they had. Well, Usyk wasn't the fighter though, but it was the presser. I think it was the second presser between Tyson Fury and Vladimir Klitschko, right? The first fight, that is. I mean, and Fury came in dressed up like Batman, and then and then Usyk showed up and confronted Fury with the Joker mask and suit. And next thing you know, Fury jumped up over the press conference table and then jumped on Usyk, and they were wrestling. Both of them were wrestling, and obviously it was choreographed because they both planned it, so you could tell it was choreographed because Fury wrestled him down. Then Usyk was wrestling with him. You know, he gained an advantage. Then Fury regained the advantage. I think it was all playful. I think they planned that together. So, um, obviously, yeah. What I was pointing out is that Champ Side called that out. He said, "Look, man, we're gonna get Fury versus Usyk based off this right here." And to your point, Mr. Boxing today, yeah, we more likely may get that Batman versus Joker presser. Fury coming in as Bruce Wayne or Batman, and then we have Usyk coming in as a Joker. I mean, now people are gonna say, well, Batman's gonna win this battle. Well, we may never know because in some cases the Joker has won battles against Batman. In case people don't realize, he has. So yeah. Yeah, salute Outlaw Pugilist, man. Hey man, welcome to the channel, man. Salute to you, brother. Salute to you. Hamed says that I think Usyk might have to KO Fury to win because he can't seem to be winning a decision unless he wins 9 rounds of his ass against Fury. He might, but it depends what type of fight it is, because if this fight's going to be fought in mid to long range, then that's Usyk all day. And I was actually on the live stream a couple nights ago. I think it was yesterday. No, it was a couple nights ago. It was on Friday, and I was on a live stream with H Money. Shout out to H Money in the chat, in the panel. And I told him, I was like, look, man, there's no way that Tyson Fury's going to outbox Alexander Usyk. That's not going to happen. And they disagreed with me, and they were respectful, and they were cool. And I said, nah, there's just no way, because if you think Tyson Fury's going to outbox Alexander Usyk, then how come he couldn't outbox Steve Cunningham and Otto Wallin? How couldn't he outbox those guys? How did he beat them? He had to swarm, and then he had to use his weight advantage against those guys. He had to make it a big man fight. He could not box them from long range. So again, he's not going to win a boxing match against Alexander Usyk. That's not going to happen. Now, so the only way Fury could beat him is to use his weight, use his height and reach advantage over him. That's the only way he can do it. There's no other way to beat Usyk. You have to apply relentless pressure on him. That's the only way you can do it. So, yeah. Hamed says that Klitschko barely won a round against Fury, and they both might cancel each other out. Can't see it being a draw or close to a controversial decision. I hope it doesn't come down to that, because we almost had a controversial decision in Saudi Arabia. I know, Ahmed, you were worried about that. And, it was a perfectly legitimate argument. But as I said, look, Usyk's been in this situation before many times, and he knows how to handle it. He always finds ways to take the fight out of the judge's hands, and he did do that, with the exception of Glenn Feldman, who couldn't even answer the question, by the way, of how he scored that fight for Joshua. And that right there, I'm glad Rob Tippett called him out on that. And we need more of that. If you have a controversial judge like Adelaide Berg, who scored it 10 rounds for Canelo against Golovkin in the first fight, then you need to catch her in the hallway somewhere and put her on the spot and ask her, what did you see to believe that Canelo won 10 rounds against Triple G? I think she was asked about this in a separate interview, so I'm not sure. I think she was asked about this, but it wasn't like in real time where you could catch her after the fight, where you put her on blast. But we do need more of that, where judges need to be called out publicly, and they need to state their case on why did you score it the way you did. I know the argument is, well, the best way to settle this is that maybe we need to get live scoring. Me personally, I don't think that's a necessity, but I mean, I'm not against it, but I don't think it's much of a necessity. Let's see. Hamed says that guy dressed as a Joker wasn't Usyk. Was it Usyk? Surely that was in 2015. Yeah, that was Usyk. That was him. That was him. Hey, Brandon White. He says Hamed is. Come on, man. Come on, man. Hamed, he's fam, man. He's a good guy, man. Come on, no disrespect to Hamed. Hey, man, it's been a long time, man. I ain't seen you in a while. Mr. Boston today says, yeah, I remember Usyk dressed up as the Joker. So we have Joey Spencer fighting Salgado right now. So this is should be a good contest. So this is at 154 pounds, and Joey Spencer is the marquee fighter here. He is the prospect. So a lot of promise from this guy, but obviously hasn't been quite as active. And obviously because PBC's they've had some challenges of funding, just like Eddie Hearn in Matchroom. So, but it's good to see Joey Spencer back in the ring tonight. So yeah, he's establishing his position with the jab, whatnot. So, guys, mind you, I will be talking about the heavyweight news at the same time. I will be, and I will also be blending in the coverage of the undercard as well of the Andy Ruiz and Luis Ortiz. So, bear with me on that. So anyhow, Mr. Boxer today said, yeah, I remember Usyk dressed up as a Joker style suit for the AJ Presser for the first fight. I didn't know that was Usyk in 2015. Yeah, that was him. That was him. That was definitely him. Look, Uh, I don't know. I mean, maybe that was back in the day, but all I can tell you is that Hamed's not that type of guy, man. I can vouch for him. Yes, we have our disagreements. Believe me, Hamed can tell you himself that we don't agree on everything. He's kept it respectful. He's kept it neutral. And yes, he'll have his biases on certain fighters like I do. We'll have a little bit of bias here because we all do. That's human nature. But at the same time, we'll call our favorite fighters out for the bullshit that they pull. He called out Fury on a lot of shit, even though that's his favorite fighter. I call out Deontay Wilder on a lot of bullshit. He's my favorite fighter. So yeah, I don't know about him spreading lies and falsehoods about numerous of channels. I mean, I haven't seen that. I'm not sure if this was back in the day that before I met him. I don't know, but we're here now, man. So let's just keep it respectful, man. Let's keep it respectful between y'all two. Yeah, let's have some bit of decorum, guys. Business let's have a bit of parliamentary order here, as you want to call it, as Chris Eubank Sr. would say. So anyways, let's go back into the list of topics here. I see. I see. Fair enough. So again, I mentioned Usyk does respond. He did respond to Fury. He responded to the Dosser comments. He's like, Usyk's like, well, I don't know why he called me a Dosser because I actually have a permanent residence. I mean, unless he wants to verify that information. I like that response because here's the thing people don't realize. The term Dosser is a British slang for a homeless guy. So I guess here in America, we're not so accustomed to that term, but that's what it means. And Usyk did respond to that perfectly. And he's actually the first guy to ever respond to that. He responded very eloquently, and I'm sure Tyson Fury did not like that. So again, it goes back to this mental warfare thing. It's nothing he can say or do to get in Usyk's head. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. So Tyson Fury is just wasting his breath and he's wasting his time. And I'm sure that's going to make him angry and more upset that he can't get a mental edge over his opponent. So it is what it is. That's why I say, and I always believe, and I maintain my position on this. That's why he pulled out of the Ustinov fight the day before, because of that very fact that he couldn't get a mental edge over Ustinov. So, yeah. So he also, like I said though, he responded with, with his on his Instagram post about a title, and I'll bring it up real quickly about Alexander Usyk. I'm gonna share it with you guys if you haven't seen it. Let's see. I'm gonna bring up the cat. Alexander Usyk. So I'm gonna go and share this with you guys. Yeah. Yeah, my thoughts on the Wilder versus Lanius on who and how who wins. Yeah, I did share my thoughts about that on a couple of video uploads, but I will say this. I think it's a decent comeback fight for Deontay Wilder. I mean, people thought it would be a lesser opponent than Lanius, but I always said that no, I think it's going to be him. Uh Hellenius, you could arguably is a top 15, if not top 20 guy, or well, I should say vice versa. That top 20, if not top 15. And Ladies is actually coming off 2 good wins back to back against Kownacki. So I think it's a good fight for him, given the fact that he is coming back, coming up. He's coming off of 2 bad knockout losses to Tyson Fury, which were bad beatings, by the way. It was horrible beatings. So yeah, I think this is a good comeback fight for him. It should give him some bit of confidence, but at the same time, this is not to me, this is not an easy walk in the park. I think what Deontay Wilder, if he gets too relaxed, he could get knocked out by Helenius. Because the one thing about Robert Helenius is that, yes, he may be slow. He is tall. He does have some fundamentals. He does have good technique. He can box. But the thing is that once he catch you, man, and to me, he hits harder than Tyson Fury. He can hit you. When he hits you, man, that is something you don't want. You don't want to receive on the end of that punch, man, because Helenius can hit hard. And Deontay needs to be careful with this guy. Yes, they were sparring partners, so Deontay knows him very well. But at the same time, you don't want to get too reckless and too careless with a guy like this. So I do expect Wilder to win. Maybe the fight will end probably within 5-6 rounds, because the thing about Robert is that, well, Helenius is that his conditioning has always been poor. So that will work against him against a more fitter 220, maybe 224 Deontay Wilder. Not no 231, not no 238 or 240-pound Deontay Wilder. No, I'm talking about Deontay Wilder, who's 215, 225 at least. That Deontay Wilder is greatly conditioned. So, yeah, I expect him to come in that fight with that around that weight range, and I expect him to get Laney out of there no more than 6 rounds. So, yeah, that's the way I see it. It is a good comeback fight for him, given the fact that he's coming back 2 bad knockout losses against Tyson Fury. So, yeah, yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. Brandon says that Usyk won't let Fury mind games work on. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. It's not. Look what happened to Marco Huck. Marco Huck tried that. Tony Bellew tried that. Derek Chisora tried that to some extent, and look what happened to those fights. Look what were the end results of those. So Tyson Fury, I think he knows who he's up against, and he's trying to do what he can to get a mental edge. But Usyk's not phased. He doesn't care, right? I'm telling you, when that presser comes, I'm telling you, there's going to be some one-liners and two-liners that Tyson Fury is not going to like, and he's not going to find no way to combat that. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. Yeah, come on, guys. Parliamentary procedure here, as Amir says. Yeah, I agree. Fury feels uncomfortable if he can't get his opponent's head. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happened with the Usman fight. I know Hamed and I had a discussion about this, and he disagrees, but a little bit. But I always firmly believe, that it's kind of unusual that you pull out of the fight the day before after the weigh-in. And I know he said that, okay, his uncle passed away, yada, yada, yada. I get that. But I pointed out that there's been several fighters in the past that have gone into fights amidst family tragedies. Luke Campbell lost his lost his father before the what you call it, the Jorge Linares fight. Buster Douglas famously lost his mother before the Mike Tyson fight. So, yeah, I mean, Tyson Fury himself, and I do recall he made a comment about, criticizing other fighters for pulling out, mainly against him, mainly David Haye, and he said himself that he would never pull out of fights, yet he did it against Alexander Usyk. The eve of the fight, he pulled out. And the same thing, he ducked out of the David Price fight. Yeah, he wants to make it seem like that both of those guys were ducking him. It's like, come on, man. Just be real. If you pull out a fight, just say, you know what? I feel uncomfortable fighting this guy. I'm just not sure he's going to admit that, but it's exactly what happened. He couldn't get a middle edge over Usmanov, and he pulled out because of it. I'm just keeping it real. That's the way I believe. Let's see here. Miles says Usyk should just laugh off everything Fury does. It'll just piss off Fury. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. In fact, I'm going to bring up this little comment right here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Yeah, so Joey Spencer right now is dominating Salgado, so that's expected. So I'm not really going to cover too much of that fight. All right, guys, so here we go. So as you can see right here, Alexander Usyk, what he says here. I'm going to go highlight this. When I saw the message from Tyson Fury. I'm telling you, all Usyk has to do is continue to laugh at him and put out these one-line messages or these simple messages to Tyson Fury. This is going to piss him off. And this is why I'm worried about the fact that this fight might not happen, because I think Fury knows that if he can't get a middle edge over Usyk, and Usyk is not going to get rattled by it, then he's going to find an excuse not to take the fight, like he did in February. Let's bring that up. He had a chance to fight Usyk for the undisputed title, where, by the way, both Joshua and Dillian White were agreeing to step aside. But what Fury do? What did he do? He said, well, before that, he said, I'll fight Alexander Usyk. I'll take him out in 3 weeks' time, no problem. Then when Igor Klimas tagged Tyson Fury and told him, say, hey, man, before you start talking shit, maybe you want to talk to your team because we've already agreed to fight you. So when Fury saw that, he went to his team. He's like, oh, fuck that. Nah, I'm not fighting Usyk unless I get a interim fight. And that's when Anthony Joshua said, you know what? If you want to enter a fight, then you got to pay me more for step aside. So that's why that fight fell through, because Fury was not comfortable fighting Usyk right away, as he said he was going to do. So I don't want to hear this bullshit from the Fury fanboy saying that, oh, Usyk is ducking because he wants a little time with his family. Hey, get the fuck out of here. All right. If anybody you need to talk about who's ducking is Tyson Fury, because he denied us arguably twice an undisputed fight. When I say arguably, it's because of the Anthony Joshua fallout back in 2020 or 2021, I should say. But, look, it is what it is. I always felt that Fury was stringing everybody along, knowing that he knew that undisputed fight was not going to happen between him and Joshua. That's just my opinion. But at the end of the day, this is the second time he's denied the fans an undisputed fight. He did it with Joshua in 2021, and he did it again earlier this year. So I don't want to hear anybody about, people saying that Usyk is ducking the fight. That's bullshit. So that's all I got to say. I'm going to stop sharing this. Yeah, I want to talk about that, man. He was at the WWE event. Yeah, I mean, that was a weird ending. I mean, Austin Theory was going to cash in on Roman Reigns after he beat Drew McIntyre. Then Tyson Fury out of nowhere knocks out Austin Theory. And then he gets in the ring. He confronts Roman Reigns. And then he grabs Drew McIntyre by the shoulder, praising him. And they're singing, I don't know what they were singing, but they were singing American Pie. I don't know. I think they were singing that. That was a bizarre ending to that show. I mean, it was a great show overall. The Clash of the Castle. It was a great show, but at the same time, that ending was weird. That was weird. Yeah, salute to YG, man. Salute, man. Any news on Crawford and Spence? You know what, man? I'm gonna be real. I'm not going to talk about that fight unless they actually make an announcement, because right now we're spending our energy, like a whole year and a half talking about this fight. It's kind of similar to Joshua Wilder, whatnot. We spent 4 or 5 years 3 years talking about that fight. Never happened. And look what was the end result of that. Both Wilder and Joshua coming back bad losses back to back. I know Wilder got battered in both of his losses. Joshua, on the other hand, yeah, he didn't get knocked out, but not to me, but he not only got outclassed, but he also took some punishment against Usyk in those 2 fights. So, yeah, it is just a shame that it's come down to this, but it doesn't mean that Wilder and Joshua cannot fight. I mean, it's still a big fight either way without the belts, and that's on it. That is the truth. And that's one thing I do agree with Eddie Hearn on. So, yeah. Yeah, I'll drop the link, YG. Give me a minute. Wilder, Ruiz will be good. I got Ruiz getting stopped inside 4 rounds. Yeah, that's the way I see it. And speaking of Andy Ruiz, speaking of Deontay Wilder, he is in ringside right now for the Ruiz and Ortiz fight. So, yeah. Yeah, but Dan, wasn't Usmanov was a late replacement for Chisora? Yeah, he was. But at the same time, Fury said, no problem, I fight him. I don't pull out of fights. That's what he criticized Derek Chisora for. You're pulling out a fight because you're coming up with excuses why you don't want to fight me. The next thing you know, at the weigh-in, he realized he couldn't get in the head of Usmanov like he did with Chisora. So what did he do? He pulls out on the eve of the fight. Yeah, that's a criticism I have for Fury. He's accused other fighters for pulling out, and he said himself that I would never do things like that. And next, he did it to Usmanov. So yeah, that's why I have to call out the double standard. Yeah, we already know who that is. I know he came back and said that that's not exactly what I said. Well, yeah, actually, your exact words were that Alexander Usyk would not beat Nick Webb, or Nick Webb would even beat him. That's what you said, and now you try to retract that comment and try to say, well, that's not exactly what I said. But yeah, you did say it. It's in black and white. You did say it. So it is what it is, man. Just said that you if you believe it, just say you believe it. You don't have to use the golden damage control. Said I didn't really say that. People lack the understanding or the comprehension of what I said. Nah, don't do that, bruh. So that's just damage control. That's the way I see it. It's a pretty decent fight right here between Spencer and Salgado. Salgado's actually coming back. I mean, a little bit. It's the fourth round, but I still got a 3-0 for Joey Spencer. But the one thing about Joey Spencer is that he got to show some head movement, man. He's sitting there getting hit with some jabs, so he's got to be careful. But anyhow, back to this. Yeah, outlaw pugilist. You know he don't like Tyson Fury fan. Yeah, look, if Crawford Spencer's not done by the end of this year, I'm done with the fight. Yeah, you know what, Mala, I am. You know, I've been done before, long before that, man. I'm at this point saying I'm not going to talk about Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford unless they fight each other. At this point, and I like Terrence Crawford, but they have to make this fight. It's been what 5 years now in the making. We waited too long for, or maybe 4 at best. We've waited too long, man. Already, it's like I don't know, but I will say one thing. I will give credit when credit is due when it comes to trying to negotiate for this fight. Whoever's working on this fight, they're not saying anything in the media. They're not giving details on the negotiations. That's Steven Espinoza. Say what you will about him, but at least he has the integrity and the professionalism to say, look, we will announce when the fight is made. So I'm not going to answer any questions about what's going on and behind the scenes. So obviously that was an indirect shot at Eddie Hearn, but that's the way it's supposed to be done. When a fight is made, just tell us when it's made. We don't need to know what's going on behind the scenes. So right now it's just a waiting game. I know we're all going back and forth about it, but right now let us just go back and well, not us, but what I mean by us YouTube, us commentators on here. Just let the back and forth continue to go until those guys get the fight made. But it's got to be made by this year. It has to. Yeah, how long before the Ruiz and Ortiz fight starts? I would say about 2.5 hours from now because the main event starts at 8 p.m. over here in the Pacific time in the U.S. So 3.5 hours from where you're at, Mala. I know you're in New Zealand, so just say 3.5 hours. Tyson Fury is definitely a walking contradiction. Yeah, I seen Wilder YG. He's on TV right now, so I do see him. Yeah, yeah, he's being interviewed by Heidi Andro. He looks like he's in good spirits, man. He looks happy. He's with his wife right there, so yeah, he looks good. I mean, not to say look good. He looks happy. Pause. No homo. So yeah, let's see. I know. Look, Hamed and Outlaw Pugilist, man. Come on, I know you guys going at each other. Yeah, YG. Let me go ahead and I'll send the link, but let me charge up my laptop because I don't want this to go out during the middle of the live stream. Who else can Crawford even fight? I mean, outside Virgil Ortiz, everyone else is with the PBC. Well, I mean, that's a good question. I don't think there's no one else. I mean, the only fight that's available to him if he can't get the Spence fight is Virgil Ortiz because Ortiz is the I believe he's a WBO mandatory or he will be named WBO mandatory. So yeah. But when was that Sean Porter fight? It was late last year. So yeah, it's almost coming up to a year now when Terrence Crawford did defend his WBO title against a mandatory. That was Sean Porter. So yeah, man, they need to get this deal wrapped up pretty soon. Otherwise, the WBO may call that mandatory again, which is Virgil Ortiz. Excuse me, Virgil Ortiz. So yeah, give me 1 second, guys. Let me get my charger. I'll be right back. There we go, guys. Sorry, I went to go get my charger here, so I'm back. Yeah, YG, I'm gonna go ahead and send in the link so anybody can hop on. But yeah, let me go through the comments real quickly here. Do you think? Yes, I saw that you weren't directing at Outlaw Pugilist, so my bad. Yeah, you were talking about the other guy. Yeah, so I'm sorry, man. I ain't trying to start no beef between y'all. So yeah, so we get rectify that right there. Um, Isn't Boots with PBC? Yeah, he is. In fact, that's a thing. It's a good thing you brought up Boots, Mala, because if Crawford and Spence can't make the fight, or Spencer Crawford, how you want to put it, if they can't make the fight, then the mandatory is going to be called. So Virgil Ortiz will be probably mandated to fight Terrence Crawford, and Jerome Boots Ennis will be mandated to fight Earl Spence. Those still are very good fights either way. But at the same time, a lot of boxing fans are going to be very disappointed that we have two fighters in their prime. They're undefeated. They're all both rated on the pound for pound list. They need to fight each other to determine who is the best welterweight in the world, pound for pound, undisputed. So if they can't make the fight and they're ordered to fight their mandatories, there's a great chance that they can lose those fights because Ennis and Virgil Ortiz, those are right now considered elite welterweights. Those are very dangerous fights for both of them. So I don't know, man. They need to hurry this up and make this quick before the WBO and the IBF call their mandatory. So, yeah. Do you think Usyk would beat Ali? Yeah, I heard about this one. You know what? Let me just say this. Ali was a special fighter in his time. You know, he displayed multiplicity of skills as you wouldn't see a heavyweight would do. I mean, he emulated his style for Sugar Ray Robinson. So, you know, if you want to say can Usyk beat him, I like Ali. It's hard to say. It's because especially a prime a prime Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, who beat Sonny Liston, who beat the Doug Jones and the Archie Moores, in the Henry Coopers, whatnot. The mid-60s. I don't know if Usyk would have beaten that guy. I'm not saying that Ali would have beaten him, so it's tough for me to say that, because Ali was just as fleet-footed. He was very quick. He was very elusive. He had very great head movement. He had a very quick jab, fast combinations. Pretty unusual for a heavyweight to do that at his time, to throw that many combinations. So it's tough to say. It's tough to say, could Usyk have beaten him? I mean, I'm not saying Usyk could not beat him, but it's just that it's tough for me to say because, it's just like, I'm not saying Usyk reminds me of Muhammad Ali, but there's definitely some elements there. But yeah, for Dunderdon to say that Chisora beats Joe Frazier, I think I honestly believe that he's trolling when he's saying that. He's just trying to get in a reaction. I honestly believe that he doesn't believe that. That's just the honest truth. I don't think he really believes that Chisora would beat Joe Frazier. Nah, I don't think he believes that. Yeah, because if you think about it, Derek Chisora's style is tailor made for Joe Frazier. I mean, what would Derek Chisora do if he can't even see those left hooks coming? Because Joe Frazier, he was very deceptive when it came to those left hooks because you didn't know when he was going to throw them because he would throw them out of nowhere like a goddamn cat. It's like even Muhammad Ali couldn't even figure out where he was throwing those left hooks in their fights. It was just like he'll throw them out of nowhere. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Where'd that left hook come from? So, yeah, Chisora would have lost that fight, man. Well, I mean, come on. Yeah, yeah, these experts think they're experts because they do some film studies. The same buffoons claiming to be PED experts. Yeah, trust me, I know. Back in the day, back in 2015, 2016, when I was here, trust me, I had 6, 7 years ago. I had my run-ins and I had my disputes with these guys. They were out calling me names. They were trying to defame me only because I had some questionable. Only because I had some unanswered questions that need to be answered about if you guys claim that Meldonia, we're talking about Povetkin. You're talking about Meldonia, right? When he got busted for, which canceled the Wilder fight back in mid 2016, right? If he had excretion levels of Meldonia, right, which was below the legal limit, as WADA had stated, right? But the fact is that Povetkin said that he never took the drug after it got banned, right? So he got caught with it 6 months later. So can anyone explain to me scientifically? Can Meldonia be lingering in your system? Does it take that long for it to withdraw? Yes or no? None of them can answer that question. And to be fair, Wada couldn't figure it out either. So that's why I said no. I'm having a hard time believing that this guy could claim that he hadn't taken Meldonium since November, then get caught with it in June. I had a very difficult time believing him because that to me is very impossible to have a drug to be, to have lingering effects in your system for that long stretches of time. That's very impossible for me to believe that. So I said, you know what? No one can figure this out because there are some reports indicating that Meldonia is still a complicated drug to understand. I get it. So you know what? Povetkin was supposed to have it, but at the same time, they're still unanswered questions. Let's do this. They put him on a probationary period, which means that he was stripped from his mandatory status. He had to fight his way to get back into it. And at the same time, the WBC themselves said in their statement that we will continue to investigate the matter. If any new information comes up regarding the Meldonia situation, we will update you. And I said then that Povetkin was not cleared. And these idiots went out and started to throw a parade of fucking victory lap speech on their videos talking about how Povetkin was cleared by the WBC. He was victimized. I said, no, he hasn't been cleared. The WBC said themselves he hasn't been cleared in that statement. I don't understand if they actually read it and they comprehend the word of English, but any word in English, I should say. They said themselves that they will continue to investigate the matter until we find new evidence on this particular situation. That's what they said, and they had to reclarify that statement so that way people could get a clear understanding of it. And then idiots went upset and they were attacking the WBC. I think Michael Montero was involved in that, and they attacked him as well because he was saying exactly the same thing I did. I'm not sure it was the Povetkin situation or I think it was more on the Canelo situation. I don't know. But I think they attacked him and they attacked me when we stated that whole point that he was not cleared. And what happened? What happened after that? When Stavern was mandated to fight Stavern, what happened? He got caught again. This time with fucking not Meldonia. This time with Osterine. And these idiots came out and said, you know what? Yeah, he got caught with Osterine, but we still felt that he was victimized over Meldonia. Ah, okay. And then they were doing damage control after that whole fiasco. All Povetkin had to do is that, look, if he wanted a shot at Wilder, all he had to do was stay clean, not get caught. And he got caught again. And the same idiots who are arguing that, well, Wilder ducked Povetkin, because if you're going to fight a drug cheat like Luis Ortiz, then why not fight Povetkin? Well, if you want to admit information, then be my guest. What happened in that situation is that, yes, Luis Ortiz got caught with a banned substance, but at the same time they were prescribed for him to use for blood pressure medication, which he didn't disclose with the WBC. That was a mistake. It is what it is. So the WBC said, okay, you will have to fight. You will have to fight your chance to get back into contention to fight Wilder again, which he did. He won, and he got the fight. So all Povetkin had to do was to do the same thing the WBC asked him to do, and he failed again. So yeah, so don't come at me talking about Wilder ducked the fight just because he fought Ortiz. Man, get out of here, man. Okay. Oh, he also said that Zora beat Holyfield. All right, if he actually believes that, then he. Oh man, I gotta say, mic drop. No comment on that. Oh man, I mean, Derek Chisora is not an elite. Not saying he's elite, but he's not a great heavyweight. He's a good heavyweight, but he's not a great heavyweight. When he retires, he's not a Hall of Fame fighter. That's the way it is. I mean, just because he's fought a lot of caliber elite heavyweights doesn't mean he had a great resume. And no disrespect to Lei Chan, I had a discussion with her about this, but if you're going to say that, then that means that Derek Chisora has a better resume than Anthony Joshua, because Chisora fought a lot more elite heavyweights than Joshua did. Yes, Joshua, has been, had more, big time wins than Chisora, but the fact that Chisora fought a better Klitschko, Vitali. He fought him. So what does that tell you? So yeah, like I said though, man, Chisora, I respect him. I respect the risk that he took in his career, but he's not a great heavyweight. That's just the way it is. Even if you beat him today, yes, it's still a good win. It's a decent win, but it's not. It's nothing to to cheer over. I'm just being real. No disrespect. Dan agreed that whole fiasco was a mess with Povetkin. Povetkin has himself to blame for what happened with Severn. Yeah, I mean, he had to take responsibility for that. And again, all he had to do was stay clean, get through the Severn fight, and then he would got his mandatory shot at Wilder. But he fucked up again. So it is what it is. Yeah, of course he didn't duck the fight. He signed up for the fight and he agreed to go travel to Russia. If Wilder didn't want the fight, he would have vacated his belt. So I don't know why these idiots coming around saying that he ducked the Povetkin fight after Povetkin failed the drug test. I don't know why people come up with this bullshit, man. I'm seriously, I don't understand it. So it is what it is. Look, I respect Gennady Golovkin. All time great. Is a bit debatable because yes, Golovkin fought and beat a lot of top 10 middleweights in his time, but if you look at that record closely, all those the middleweight division was supremely weak when Golovkin fought those guys and dominated them. That's a fact. It's not his fault, but he did what he had to do. He capitalized on a very weak middleweight division at the time. Of course, there were a few middleweight fights that didn't happen. Namely guys like Peter Quinlan, Miguel Cotto, and who else is there? Uh, I guess that was those. Sergio Martinez, yeah, those fights didn't happen, and Felix Sturm and the Arthur Abraham, those fights didn't happen. I get it, but at the same time, it came to a point when Golovkin did get those big fights and he stepped up. Yes, he won a couple of them, but there were controversial wins for the most part, especially the Derevchenko win and the Danny Jacobs win. Those are two controversial wins. Some people felt that he lost those two fights. The Canelo losses, yeah, some people felt that he won the first fight or the second fight, but it is what it is. There were two close fights, but he didn't get the win, whatnot, and he's going up against Canelo the third time, this time at super middleweight, and he's old. I mean, he's been taking way too much punishment in his career. Luckily, he has a great durability and a great chin, one of the best chins of durability. He has Golovkin, in my opinion, has one of the best chins in boxing history. One of the greatest durabilities I've ever seen. But at the same time, his biggest wins would come with controversy. I hate to say that. That's a fact. He's definitely a Hall of Famer, but as far as all time great, as far as ranking him amongst the greatest middleweights, maybe they would put him in there somehow, some way. But as far as top 10, top 15, or even top 20, no, 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 not even close. Maybe top 30, maybe top 40 at best. Top 25 is stretching it probably a little bit, but he's definitely not a top 15 all-time great middleweight. Nowhere close. Yeah, and this is me who criticized Golovkin, who initially praised him but criticized him, his career later in his career. But I will acknowledge the fact that he had a pretty good career at middleweight. He beat a lot of top 10 guys. Unfortunately, those guys that he beat were not great fighters, to say. Not his fault, but they were top 10 and he fought them and beat them. But his biggest wins against the Jenny Jacobs and the Sergey Derevchenkos, those wins were met with controversy because most felt that he lost those two fights. So it is what it is. Now, can Golovkin redeem himself and beat Canelo in the third fight and win that fight without any controversy? It's probably he could, but at this age and he's going up in weight and he's carrying more weight than usual, he's going to be a lot slower and he's going to be a lot more easier to hit, and that's Canelo's. That's tailor made for. Excuse me. That's tailor made for Canelo's style. So I don't know, man. I don't like his chances winning this third fight, and that fight's coming up in the next couple weeks. So yeah, man. I'll definitely watch it, but yeah, I don't like Golovkin's chances in that fight because that style is definitely tailor made for Canelo Alvarez. Tailor made. But imagine if Golovkin does beat Canelo and then he calls it a career and he's undisputed super middleweight champion. Wow, that would definitely be something that he could redeem himself. He finally got a all time great win, pound for pound, Hall of Fame win, as you want to call it. So he finally got that on his resume if he could pull it off. But if he doesn't pull it off and call it a career, hey, like again, it's his career will be debated, but he still will be a Hall of Famer. I will concede to that fact. Oh, this is a damn good fight here between Joey Spencer and Salgado, man. Close fight, by the way. I'm not a close fight, but obviously Joey Spencer is outlanding him by like 13, 12 punches. But we do understand that these rounds are scored by round basis, whatnot. But I got Joey Spencer fairly ahead. But the thing about Joey Spencer is that he's getting hit way too much. He needs to show some head movement, man. He's getting hit with way too many jabs against Salgado, way too many. So, yeah. Yeah, Golovkin looks vulnerable in his last two fights. Yeah, he did, man. It just goes to show that age and is catching up on you. Especially with all the damage you took in those fights. Yes, Golovkin was getting damaged by guys who are lesser opponents than the guys he's been facing in recent years. It's like, dude, I know you got a great chin, you got great durability, but at the same time, as you get older, that shit's going to deplete. Excuse my language. I mean, luckily for Golovkin, he hasn't really fought guys who hit, who are very, very big concussive punchers. I know some people are saying, well, maybe David Lemieux. I mean, that's kind of close, but David Lemieux was a very limited fighter at best, limited skill. So the best way to beat him was just keep him at the end of your jab. That was it. So Golovkin was very lucky he didn't really get hit by that guy. Very lucky. But other than that, he hasn't really faced any big punchers in his career. He hasn't. Danny Jacobs, I mean, he's a respectable puncher, but he's not a big puncher. He's not a devastating puncher. Canelo Alvarez, I mean, he's gone through the weight, going between the weights over the years. I mean, Canelo hasn't really. I mean, he could hit hard, but he's not like a KO artist, as you want to say. I mean, because the way Canelo beats you up, he beats you up by accumulation of shots. So, but my point is that if he fought somebody who actually hit very, very hard, like Arthur Beterbiev, then yeah, man, that chin wasn't going. It was going to that punch resistance was going to decrease if he got if he got caught with guys like Arthur Beterbiev or Sergey Kovalev, those type of guys. So yeah. Anyhow, while we're this undercard is like going on, let's talk about some other stuff. So Usyk, in the middle of the interview, said that he would be interested if the Tyson Fury fight can't come off. He was interested in either a third Joshua or even Deontay Wilder fight if the Tyson Fury fight cannot be made. Now, that's what it goes back to my initial point when I said earlier on this live stream is that I'm not confident. I'm quite worried that this fight may not be made if Usyk is talking like this, because I think he knows himself that Tyson Fury is going to play games and he's going to find a way to pull out, or he knows that maybe the preliminary discussions are not going as well as he thought he would, because Tyson Fury is asking for too much. He's asking for more strings attached to this fight. I don't know what it is, but we all know Tyson Fury has a history of playing games and backing out of fights that he knows that he's going to have he's not sure that he's going to be confident of winning. So now, not saying that fighting Deontay Wilder wouldn't be interesting. That's actually an interesting matchup. That's a fight that I would like to see myself. But as a Wilder fan, I think Wilder needs to get a couple wins, and he needs to prove himself to be worthy of a title shot again. So that's my take on it. As far as the third Joshua fight, um, I would say no, because right now, look, Usyk knows, because that's a money fight. In three, he knows that he could beat Joshua. He knows his style. He studied him for several years. He knows how to beat this guy in many different ways, and Joshua is not going to change over time. I mean, let's be real. He's not. It's going to be the same fight if they were to fight the third time in the next few months. It's going to be the same fight. So at this point, it's just no point of fighting Joshua. See the third a third Usyk and Joshua fight. And to be honest with you, I don't think many of the Joshua fans want to see it right now. They really want to see Joshua rebuild and regain his confidence and get back into the mix. And to be honest with you, Anthony Joshua may not get another title shot within another year or two. And I think it'd be good for him. And I think it'd be a blessing in disguise, because he doesn't have to worry about the stress of defending his belts, especially with the sanctioned bodies breathing down your neck, asking for your yes or no answer. Are you going to fight this guy? We need a response at a certain date. This is where the purse split's going to set up. This is the date, time, the negotiations need to be met. I mean, it's just a lot of strings attached and a lot of hassle going through the sanctioned bodies, especially if you're their champion. So, yeah, I know that's what Usyk is saying, but like I said, though, it is worrisome when you hear him say that. Now, trust me, I think he really wants that Fury fight. I think it's Tyson Fury is the one we need to worry about whether he wants to take it or not. So, yeah, and Tyson Fury seems to be all over the place because I saw that interview with Radio Raheem. He said that Sugar Hill and I were talking, and I see that I could beat Alexander Usyk within 6 rounds, which is kind of confusing to me because I thought Isaac Lowe was his trainer, but I did say initially when he did pick Isaac Lowe as his trainer, I said that you know what, I think he's going to divide his time between Sugar Hill and Isaac Lowe because for big fights he'll use Sugar Hill. For Isaac Lowe, it's going to be low level fights like a Derek Chisora rematch. And by the way, Tyson Fury said himself that he's going to announce a fight by next week. And he was asked on record several times by who? Who are you going to fight? He said, "Well, I don't know. That's my team is going to make that decision. Then we'll announce it next week." So okay, I don't know if that makes any sense, but I mean, if you're gonna make a fight announcement by next week, you already know who you're gonna fight. So I guess he said I don't know as if he can't disclose who he's gonna fight. I mean, if that was the case, all you have to do is say, well, you'll have to wait and see next week. So we have a fight set up, and we'll announce it next week. That's all you have to say. You don't say that I have a fight. We're gonna announce a fight next week, and you don't know who the opponent is. That just sounds kind of strange to me. So anyhow, he's all over the place. In 1 minute, he says that I'm gonna knock Usyk out in 4 rounds. Then he says I'm knocking out within 6 rounds. Then he gets Sugar Hill as his trainer. Then he gets Isaac Lowe as his trainer. Then he says I'm not gonna fight Usyk unless I get $500 million. We have a 7-day deadline. If that deadline is not met, then I'm moving on. Then all of a sudden he says that Usyk is a coward. This, that, and the third. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to that 7-day deadline? Did you get your 500 million? Yes or no? Yeah. I'm gonna post a link in the chat right now. So I mean, I'm confused about this guy and his way of thinking. I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the legal situation with Canahan. Well, by the way, Tyson Fury still has yet to. I mean, as far as I know, he hasn't even resolved his issue with his UK license. So yeah, and I cannot help but to defer back to the comment of Deontay Wilder said, because Deontay Wilder said a couple weeks ago that Tyson Fury has a lot of legal issues that he has to resolve, and there's a lot of things that we're not privy to that's going on behind the scenes when it comes to him, and he said that he can't even talk about it. So I don't know. That's very telling to me. I want to know what other situations that he's involved in that we're not yet we have no knowledge of. So I don't know, man. This is a very interesting and bizarre character, to say the least. Tyson Fury, that is. Uh, so yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know that this dude, Tyson Fury, is a rap. But speaking of Anthony Joshua, Lennox Lewis may have made an interesting comment. I think it was an indirect shot at him. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quickly, and I'm gonna share my thoughts on this. All right, so got it. So Lennox Lewis said this, right? He says here, quote, that one of the biggest problems you have is that you don't realize that you have a problem until it's too late. Greatness requires you to be just as open and mindful to hearing the criticism as you are the accolades. Hashtag Lennoxism. We all know I believe what that quote was directing to. I know he said it indirectly, but we know who that message was for. I believe, and we all should know, that was a indirect shot at Anthony Joshua. Let's be real. And the reason I say that is because we know that Anthony Joshua has mental issues when it comes to when people telling him what he's doing wrong, what he should be doing. He doesn't like to be told negative things. So he likes to surround himself with yes men a lot, just like Deontay Wilder. So, and also, if you guys don't know, which is pretty documented, there is some beef between Lennox Lewis and Anthony Joshua that goes back to the last several years now, or last maybe 5 years now, whatever, 5 years. After the first Andrew Ruiz loss, Lennox said that Anthony Joshua needs to get out of the UK. He needs to get out of his comfort zone. He needs to hook up with a reputable American trainer, train with some elite fighters, so that way he can understand the pressure. He can understand how to deal with pressure a lot better. As soon as Joshua found out about those comments, he called Lennox Lewis a clown, disrespected him. So, and Joshua was asked about that, and he was, well, he's a clown. He's a clown. He didn't go into further why he called him a clown. So to me, that right there was something that Lennox Lewis couldn't really get over. So he took the opportunity to make those particular comments. So I think, yeah, obviously, I think that message was a shot at Anthony Joshua. And I mean, to be honest with you, is he lying? I mean, Joshua does need to get out of his comfort zone. He needs to learn how to take criticism. It is harsh, but you have to understand that sometimes taking criticism makes you a better fighter. Lennox Lewis had to go through it. Do you believe that? Maybe a lot of to say that. No, he was very harsh and he was critical, but Lennox understood what it took to be a great champion. He had to take that abuse. He had to, have the mental strength to understand that, hey, you know what? I understand what he's telling me. I not like it, but I understand it's for my own good. So I prove this guy that I can become a much better fighter than I was initially. So that's what I have to do. And by the way, when Lewis, and I had to defer to this, when he got knocked out by Oliver McCall, it took 1 year to go from that to become a better fighter. And back then, I think he said himself that why he never got that rematch. It was because that was something he needed, because he didn't quite get over that knockout loss mentally at that time. So he wasn't to him as he thought he was. So this is something, that's why I say, I with YG, this is something I've always said, that Joshua should never took that not Andy Ruiz, I'm sorry, Andy Usyk rematch. Never. And I said myself too, like, even if he gets a year or so, he would not be ready for that fight. I think he needed to let Usyk go, let him do what he wants to do with belts, and then when you're ready to fight him again, then you need to take at least a year to be prepared for that. But I know some people wanted him to get back, and saying this is mainly, it was mainly the boys who said, you know what, they treated that loss as like and lost as if it was a fluke. They felt, you know what, Joshua lost that fight by making a lot of mistakes. He could go back in there and correct it right away. I said, no, he can't. Now, I guess a guy like that, what? Said too, do not treat Alexander Usyk as if that was Andy Ruiz. It's not the same fight. And I kept telling people that. And look at the whole behold, it turned out to be the same fight. With a little bit of value. That's all it was. So again, he not to go back in there and fight Usyk in a rematch. And look what's costing him. Now he's got 3 losses on his record. He's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. 2 of those losses for some man back to back. And now Joshua is like further down in the title contention. But at the same time, I think that's a blessing in disguise because he may need that. So it is what it is. What's up, YG? YG, come up, mute. Come mute. All right. Wait for YG to get in.
Yeah, I'm here. Nah, you know what's going on, y'all? What's going on, Dan? I appreciate you letting me get on. You know,
Anyways,
like I had to get on through the Google, what you call it. So it was the mute button was a little different.
so
But
right now there's a little bit of montage between Luis Ortiz and you hear me?
I hear you. You said there's a little bit of montage between who? Yo, Dan.
Okay.
Oh, you talking to somebody outside?
Mm-hmm. Drinking some vitamin water. I'm sorry. It may be voice in the background. You may not be hearing me at the same time. No. Maybe a voice delay. We may have a bit of interference there. So I went Wi-Fi because my other device is off Wi-Fi. So you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. You were talking to somebody in your house. You at home? Yo, Dan. Hello?
Yo, RG, you there?
Yeah. You hear me now?
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Yeah. I was talking to you, man. Say that. Yo. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, nah, this
Yeah. Yo, wait,
StreamYard
come
thing
out because
is
there's a connection.
my StreamYard is choppy right now. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know why.
Come. All right. I can hear you.
Oh, damn, son, I forgot what I was gonna say now too. I was waiting in the chat so damn long. I need to go back and look at the comments.
Okay. So this is a problem on your end. Okay. Are you on Wi-Fi or are you on the network? Phone
Nah, I'm using the.
device.
You can hear me?
All right. Go ahead. Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, well, he's had some difficulty, so waiting back. And Miles says that no. All right, I'm having issues. No, I won't. No. Uh, okay, guys. I'm not sure if it's me, but it looks like there's too many devices hooked up on the same network in my home. So that's probably why we're having so many interferences. I think I turned off one of the Wi-Fi's. Looks like we're not having that problem now. So that's interesting. Yeah, there's definitely some bit of interference here. A delay. So yeah, it's some bit of delay. So I'm gonna do my best to navigate this. I may have to restart this stream because it's see, because whenever I click in on it, when I highlight a comment, it has a bit of a 10-second delay. So yeah, this is gonna be pretty bad. Told my wife to get off one of the devices. She's not cooperating, but it is what it is. Um, okay, I tell you what. Here's what I'm gonna do. I might have to restart this stream. That's probably the only thing I can do to navigate this. But meanwhile, let's see. So we're waiting for. So there's two more fights right now. That's under the undercard. So I guess we'll come back after the when Luis Ortiz and the Andy Ruiz fight come in. That's when I'll come back. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this live stream for now. But then I'm gonna start it as the fight actually comes on. Okay. Meanwhile, I do have to charge my phone. Well, actually, no, Isaac Cruz is gonna fight next. I think that's the next fight. So let's stick around for that one. Isaac Cruz versus Eduardo Ramirez. Interesting. So we have Namares versus Miguel Flores right after Isaac Cruz versus uh, Isaac Cruz versus damn, I forgot who he's fighting already. No, no, it was Ramirez. There we go. My mind blinked out momentarily. So, well, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and restart this game, guys, because we're getting network interferences, whatnot. So I'm gonna end this for now, and I'll come back straight. Yeah, I need you to really get off. I gotta do that. I don't know why. But just go ahead and get off of it real quick so I can use it. I don't know. There's too many devices on it. That's why the app is in their phone. Yeah, but that's not when we weren't on the computer at the time. So I just shut it down. All right, turn it off on your phone. See what happens.